What's up, y'all? Today is Thursday, March 16th. If you guys are listening to this on Thursday, March 16th, yes, we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show tonight. So get those tickets before they sell out in this YouTube video. It's going to be freaking lit. And I guess we'll cut to the next scene. But yes, we have a very exciting 420 show. And the gentleman next to me on the couch in a few minutes will be doing the Ted Jones Comedy Show on April 20th. So that's going to be super exciting, guys. But anyway, check the link in this YouTube video. And without further ado, let's get to the freaking episode. Where you coming from, bro?
Just running around today, yeah.
Nice,
I'm in
man.
the...
Say what up. Show your face there. There he is, Durena. What's up, dude?
Is this live?
No, it's not live.
Oh.
It's just the intro. Oh, hell yeah, dude. We got Durena doing some pull-ups in the corner, dude. I don't know if anyone's ever done this before the pod. Good form. How many can you usually bang out?
I think wide grip I can do 10. I do sets of 5 throughout the day. And I just
You have a pull-up bar too?
Yeah. So I'll hit them. There's this thing called Grease the Groove. Are we getting right into it?
Yeah, get right into it. That's you, bro. We're sharing a mic. What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy? Yeah, it's a thing called Grease the Groove. You do like half of your rep max on a strength-based exercise like pull-ups or one-arm push-ups or something. And you just do it throughout the day. And it's
What's that, like some Goggin shit?
No, what's his name? You know Pavel Tastuin?
I don't. I should know that guy.
Godfather of the kettlebell. He's like this.
Wait, is that the Asian guy?
No, Russian dude.
Do you know who I'm talking about though? That
Asian
really
guy?
fit Asian guy. Pop him up right here, Ted Jones. The guy just, I think, only uses body weight, and then he has like a stick on his back.
No.
And, like has weights and super fit guy.
Oh wait. You're talking about he's Hawaiian.
Is he?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. The Hawaiian guy, and he always works out in his front yard.
Yeah.
Okay,
and he's like
this guy.
50 something years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. What is his name? Oh, can we swear?
Yeah. Too late. But
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
We're good, bro. All good, man. Che, I appreciate you coming over, man. You don't know a lot about me.
No.
I know a little bit about you just from doing research.
Yeah.
And you reached out to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And dude, a great DM. By the way, so comics reach out all the time. You clean DM everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
If I wanted to check out a link, which I didn't, but you're a great guy, so I appreciate that. Reach out. And we have you on the Ted Jones Comedy Show 420.
Yes.
I was just telling them, man. We're pumped. You gonna smoke before or what?
Maybe not before I go on stage. I'll smoke after.
Yeah. See,
I
that's
can't
the
get high
thing.
and
Like
go
for
on stage.
420 shows, people are kind of. I don't know if the audience really knows what to expect. Like,
Yeah.
Are they blazed right away? And I think that takes away a lot from a comic's act when they're super high.
Yeah, like I'm used to not performing high, but performing for high people.
Sure.
There's a big thing in Toronto because I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, you're from British Columbia or
Yes,
Toronto?
I'm from British Columbia,
All right.
but I spent like 8 or 9 years in Toronto. That's like my whole stand-up time is in Toronto. So I'm like a Toronto comic in quotations.
But you spent some time outside of Toronto. What were you in Mexico for a little bit?
I was in Mexico for 3 years. My
damn.
last year there was when I started doing stand-up. And so I was doing stand-up for like tourists, and then I really liked it, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do this. So then I like sold my scuba diving gear because I was a scuba diving instructor down there.
No, what, Playa del Carmen or something?
Yeah, exactly there.
Dope. All right.
And then
I went there once with my family.
And then I flew over to Toronto to like be like, yeah, well, I want to do this. I want to.
How did you get into scuba instructing? Were you like a big swimmer growing up?
Yeah, actually, I was in a lot of swimming stuff as a kid.
Okay.
But I went straight into it after high school. I found a course through university. There's like this little college on the coast of BC because my parents wanted me to go straight to university or straight to like post-secondary. And I hated school.
Okay.
And I had terrible grades. So I was like trying to find anything I could do that wasn't like a class. Found that it was like a no-brainer. I was on this right away.
That's
and,
dope, dude.
and it opened up doors to like travel and everything.
So Danny Polishuk was on this podcast, and he was calling it university too. It's such a Toronto thing. We call it university because we call it college here in
Well, no,
in
you
New
guys
York.
have university. You have,
Right,
like,
but we call it college. Like,
really?
We're never like, oh, we're going to university or we're going to uni. We always
okay.
call it college.
Oh, okay, so even if you're like going to the University of Arizona, you're like, I'm going to college.
Yeah, dude, which is fucked up. We should say university for sure.
Yeah.
So by the way, dude, my dad was shout out my dad. He was the captain of the NYU swim team.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so I got a little swimming.
You got some
background,
swimming
baby.
genes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I can backstroke, a little breaststroke.
Yeah.
Definitely not going to drown out there.
No, same. My mom was big about getting us all in swimming because she had a fear of water. So so she was like, I don't want my kids to have.
Oh, she never knew how to swim?
I think she learned later, but still was very apprehensive around water.
Yeah,
so she didn't want us to have that, which is like an important thing because you don't like swim. It's like riding a bike, swimming. These are things where like, if you don't know how to do them, they won't pop up often. But when it comes time to do it, when everyone's like, hey, we're going down to the lake.
Yeah,
or
we're
like,
going bike riding to the lake.
Yeah, and people, and so you're like, I don't know how to ride a bike. Like that's like ruthlessly embarrassing.
I think in the city though, like not being able to swim and not being able to know how to ride a bike are fairly more common than in any other place. I would think so.
Because like I haven't started here just based on like kind of the shows I do most frequently. Like I'm in Brooklyn a lot for shows. So the travel time via train versus via bike is very similar. So there's no reason for me to get a bike really.
Right.
But in Toronto, I rode a bike for like 3 years or 4 years everywhere. Like I was on a bike.
And you would just chain it up to the sign.
Yeah, you just lock it up. I got my back tire stolen a couple times. Just fucking, that's how it goes.
True Toronto.
Oh yeah, man. I loved riding a bike. Is fucking sick. It's a great workout, and it's also just the best means of transportation in the city. Oh, water, yeah.
Electric bike?
No, fuck that.
Dude, that's what I got into, I think, within like the last 5 months. So I was born and raised in New York, and I never was a city bike guy. I mean, it only really came out probably like, I don't know, like 10 years ago where people were actually starting to really use the bike.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies, like one night was like, all right, dude, let's take the electric bike over there. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Took it. And then for like 2 months, I was addicted to it.
Yeah,
Just riding the bike. Just the thrill of flying by yourself. It's like, it reminds me of skiing a little bit.
Yeah,
Obviously slower, but just super smooth to the destination. But I'm a huge walker just being in New York.
Yeah, walking in New York is excellent. The train system here is excellent. And because it's so good and so quick, it makes a perfect sense to take the train. There's a lot of situations where taking the train is way faster than riding a bike.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like going uptown or something. There's like a couple, if I start getting more spots in the village, because I live in the East Village, getting to the West Village, same time walking, same time train. Because I got to walk up to the L or walk down to the F or something like that, and then train over. So it makes, I would get a bike for that because it's like 5 to 10 minutes on a bike.
Do you ever skateboard?
No, I can't skateboard. I would love to.
Yeah, I used to skateboard to middle school. It's like 3 blocks, and I learned how to ollie, but like kickflip was out of my reach. Never went down the half pipe.
Yeah.
Just too freaking scary.
Yeah. But
what were you saying?
But just in terms of transportation, it's so convenient.
Yeah, dude.
You pick it up, you're cool as shit.
Yeah, dude. But like the scariest thing, I don't know how people ride those penny boards.
Oh, with those little guys?
Dude, if you have a size 10 foot, like you can't put 2 feet on there.
Not at all.
Fuck, dude. All right, man. So let's talk about your journey coming to New York. See, you got some dates in Miami at the Miami Improv.
Yes, I am.
Have you performed there yet?
No, it's my first time going to Miami.
First time going to Miami?
Yeah.
And you're freaking performing?
Yeah.
Dope, dude. So
not 100% true. I did go down there when I was in West Palm Beach. I went down for like a day to do some podcasts, but I didn't really
spending some time down there.
Yeah.
Okay, so my friend Hannah Berner did Miami Improv about a year ago to this day, and I opened for her, and then I guess like 2 weeks ago she sold out like 4 shows.
Yeah.
So great venue down there, and then also Miami, I think, needs more comedy, man. They really only have the Improv, and then besides that, like the next step up is like the FTX Arena, something like that. So they definitely need more comedy down there. But you're super pumped to get down there.
I am pumped. In terms of our weekends, like every weekend's been selling super well. Everything,
dope, bro.
But the Miami,
did you have to like add another show too?
No, not to this one. Miami isn't selling well. That's what Miami.
Well, I'm sure that's like the one stop on your tour that you're.
Everything else. Like I was just in Rhode Island. The whole weekend was sold out.
Let's go.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Just the comedy town or what?
I think this upcoming weekend, it is spring break. It is what's it called?
Well, next week's Miami Music Week, right?
Okay, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah,
it's Miami.
And what were you gonna say?
It's St. Patrick's Day.
Oh shit!
And there's a big UFC fight on as well. The Usman Edwards rematch is on. There's like several huge events going on simultaneously,
including your show.
Hey, include my show's probably at the bottom of the list of those.
I'm sure not, dude. Did you see speaking of fighting, what Ryan Garcia and that other guy is fighting? I'm not really a boxing guy, but do you follow it at all?
Ryan Garcia is fighting Tank. What's his name? Tank.
Yeah, Garcia. No. He doesn't have the same name as him. What am I talking about? Yeah, Tank. No. Fuck, I forget that. I forget his name.
Yeah. I always know him as Tank. But no, they are. Oh, Javante Davis, I think his name is.
That's
Devontae.
Javante.
Is it Javante?
It's with a G.
Okay.
For sure.
Javante Davis. Tank Davis. Yeah, sorry, that popped into my head there. I've seen that. That's kind of like the biggest super fight we've had in boxing. in a long time. Like in terms of like, this is going to be on par with like, what's his name? Wilder Fury 3.
Right.
Or 2? 3. They
know
did
which
2
one.
and 3.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on par with there. And I got Davis on this one.
Yeah. I think that Ryan Garcia kid, I mean, he's just like been on my Instagram for years. So I just always know about his fast hands. That's really the only thing I know about
He
him.
is the biggest social media boxer.
Yeah, and he's like good looking too, you know.
But he's also a legit boxer.
Right,
like
for sure.
like obviously there's like Jake Paul and them doing the whole boxing thing.
Hell yeah.
And they're selling tickets, but
Yeah, dude.
But he's not like he's not the same caliber of fighter.
And you see Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather are going to be partnering, like doing a tag team with influencers.
Is that official? I heard that was rumored.
I don't know. I think from the post I saw, it looked official, but you never know.
I think I saw it on World Star, and World Star is actually
yeah, dude.
In terms of news, they're pretty on top of it. They're pretty big.
They've always been on top of it. I feel like there's never really been backlash against World Star as there has been on like against TMZ. Like they're the first people to put like Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash before Vanessa Bryant even knew. So World Stars, I think, been on my
World
good
Stars
list.
very on top of it.
Dude.
But yeah, it was going to be what's his name? Floyd Mayweather's teaming up with KSI, and then Manny Pacquiao's with Salt Poppy.
Yes. Who the fuck is Salt Poppy?
So
like Salt Bay's boy?
No. So Salt Poppy is like his own influencer, and he's had like a pretty interesting journey. He was like overweight before, and then he got in shape, and he's been boxing, kind of like kicking guys' asses, and through that has like grown a lot. I would say he's not as big as like KSI and them, but he still has like a pretty hardcore cult following. He's a really funny guy as well.
Interesting. So when did you come to New York?
I came
recently.
Yeah. I've only been here like 6 months, and
How's it been, man?
It's been great. It's been great. It's been like definitely a transition, because coming from Toronto, I loved Toronto. Toronto's like the best city I've ever lived in, and also like in terms of comedy, I could do whatever I wanted in Toronto. Like I could walk into a mic and be like, "Hey, can you put me on quick?" I could get booked on any show. Like I had hit the ceiling there.
I was gonna ask if there was the ceiling.
Oh yeah. There's in all Canadian entertainment, there's like a mirage that if you're great in Canada, you can have a similar career to what you can do in America. But we're looking at even though we're neighbors, in terms of like what you're able to accomplish, it's not even comparable, especially in the entertainment industry. Like America has the largest entertainment industry in the world, maybe like dwarfed by only like India or something because they have a larger population.
Hollywood, man.
But Canada, I don't even know if it's in the top 10 entertainment industries. Like it's so small. It's a 10th of the population. All of our stuff is like neutered and dwarfed. We don't even respect our own content that we make. And then when we do try to make something edgy or interesting, usually our industry won't pick it up unless America takes interest or unless someone does some independent thing like, Letterkenny.
No, I've heard that name maybe.
Letterkenny is a big show in Canada, but they had to create it as like a popular YouTube channel first before anyone would look at it. Trailer Park Boys is something very similar, where like the first season was like done completely independent, and then they were able to sell it, and it turned into this huge thing. They rarely take a chance on anything risky, and it just kind of it's very discouraging to try and create your career over there. So that's why so many people leave. But then coming over to New York, I went from being like a 15 to 20 show a week comic to like doing 3 shows a week if I was lucky. Because definitely,
you mean in New York doing 3 shows?
Yes. Because I did know a couple of their comics who had come over who were like, when you come here, you don't do open mics. You don't. You're a headlining comedian. You don't do mics. So you're gonna have to like go through this growing pains period of like getting in with these rooms and meeting these people and blah blah blah. Yeah. And now I've moved through that, and I think I've moved through that a lot faster than a lot of other comics would, because I was able to get like the guys who I knew out here were able to open some doors for me. Also, I had the credits. Also, I had the reps. Like I moved to New York, and within, I want to say, let's say within 3 months, I was repped by WME, and I had already completed like half an American tour. So then I could leverage that into spots.
And also, open mics are so different than in every other city besides New York. You know, like you go to an open mic in Toronto, there's probably like 50 people there, right? In the audience?
No.
Oh, no?
No, we have I know what you're talking about because there are those smaller scenes where an open mic actually has an audience.
Yeah.
Toronto's very comparable in New York in that style. Like, obviously, everything New York has, Toronto has less of, but we have the only comedian open mics where you just sit there and you wait to do your turn and it's
Everybody's
a dead
on
room.
the phone, right?
Yeah, no one gives a fuck about watching. I always appreciated those rooms coming up, though, because I was a hustler and I would get to those shows first. So I would be like on within the first like 1 to 10 comics, depending on how early I got there. And then when you're on that early, you can treat that show like an audience because the comics still have the attention span and the energy and
definitely,
order.
bro.
Yeah. So
definitely.
I always appreciated those rooms coming up. Now I don't have to do them, which I'm even more appreciative for.
Yeah, I think initially in New York, it's the open mics and the bringer shows. And like you're saying, to be like one of the first 5 comics is ideal in those situations because the bringer shows, you figure there are 20 comics, first 10 comics will go and then their audience will leave. So by the time you go at the end, like there's a quarter of the audience initially. Yeah. So you went from Mexico to Toronto or you came to New York. How did you build an audience coming from Toronto and then not really, I guess, planting yourself in New York full time? Like, how was that?
So I was in Toronto for like 8 or 9 years, and it was all basically just.
How old were you at that?
I think I was 22 when I moved to Toronto, I'm 30 now, so I would have been there for like 8 years. And I just moved there and started grinding shows immediately. Like when I moved there, I was actually homeless. I moved there, I like sold my scuba diving gear so I could have a little bit of scratch. By the time I got to downtown Toronto, I had like $25, and I went to a Starbucks and I had this little shitty laptop, and I Googled Toronto homeless shelters.
Bro,
yeah.
Did you at least like get a Lifetime Fitness membership or something to shower?
Nothing. I went to I found a youth shelter close by called Covenant House. They work with like anyone who's like 16 to 24. Okay. That's nice. Yeah, and then I went there and they had no beds, and they're like, "We can feed you, but you got to go to a men's shelter." And then as I was waiting for as I was eating, a person showed up who was supposed to stay there. And he was drunk, and they have a 0 tolerance policy on like any substance use. So he wasn't allowed to sleep there. And so then I got a bed. So it like immediately happened like that. And then I stayed there for like 6 months or so, maybe like, no, I stayed there for like 4 months, and then I stayed in like intermediate housing, which was like, it was like the shelter, but you could come and go as you pleased. And you had your own room and everything. I stayed there for 2 months, and then I moved into like my own house with like comics and stuff. Like,
how much time did you spend during the day at the homeless shelter? Is that just like you go back and you sleep for 8 hours and then leave as soon as you're up?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, this place was almost like a hotel. It was like, in terms of like where you could stay as a shelter, it was the nicest, cleanest. Like, they fed you 3 times a day. Eventually I did get my own room at the first place. Like, everything was very like organized. The people who worked with you there were super kind, super helpful. Like all the social workers and everything. It was the best case scenario that could have happened to me, because I was so dead broke in Mexico, and I was like, well, I want to move and do this, and all I have is a little bit of money for selling my gear. But I was like, I know I won't die in Canada, is basically what was going through my head. I was like, they don't let you die in Canada. Even if I move to Canada, I'm homeless, there'll be options.
Especially like being from Canada.
Yeah. I was like, I'll be fine.
Where were you living in Mexico? On the beach?
No, I was in Playa del Carmen. I had an apartment I was renting, but it was just like, I was working as a scuba diving instructor, and then I switched and I was working in a call center for like a year, and then the call center folded and they never did my paperwork. So I switched to like selling tours. So I basically moved from job to job where I was making less and less money. And then I had no visa. So then when I went to trying to apply for a visa, they gave me this like card that was like, you need to leave the country in 20 days. Like, you're getting deported. And they're like, if you stay, like, as long as I left, it was fine. But if they're like, if you stay, obviously you'll be like banned from Mexico for 10 years or whatever.
Did you go to Mexico from Canada because you couldn't get into the U.S.?
No. Oh, what do you mean? Like,
when you moved to Mexico, where were you living before?
I was living in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
but were you allowed to come to the US? Like why Mexico?
Oh, well, that's just where there was a job. I was a scuba diving instructor. I was 19 years old.
In Canada, you were a scuba
Canada,
diving
yeah.
instructor?
So I got this scuba diving instructor certificate through university.
Would you be in the pool and shit with your tanks?
You do pool training and then you do ocean training. So I did like all cold water diving in a dry suit.
All right, yeah. So
and
prepare you for the fucking life.
yeah, and Pacific
Cold water training.
Northwest Pacific diving is actually gorgeous. It's like the you have to be very careful about the diving because the foundation of
Coral
the
and shit?
Not coral though. Like ground is very silty. So like if you kick stuff up, the visibility goes down really quickly. But what you can see, the marine life and stuff is amazing. I saw this one time. I saw this lion's mane jellyfish, which is like a jellyfish. Literally, it's bigger than I could put my arms around, and it had tentacles going for like 30 feet. It was this. Yeah, it looked like this massive like church bell or something. It was.
If that thing stings you, is it like the same level as regular jellyfish?
I know it. I think it is venomous,
like SpongeBob type. I don't know if you saw that episode.
I've seen a lot of SpongeBob.
Well, it was just fucking. I think
when they invade his house and they have the rave,
dude.
Yeah.
Then there's a huge jellyfish with tentacles.
Yeah, I never got
back.
stung by it, but I'm sure if it stung you, it would hurt quite a bit.
right,
But I don't. It's not like a life or death scenario. You probably just get peed on, like they say.
Right.
But yeah, that's how when I finished my certificate, I sent out resumes to all these different dive centers. Mexico is
all over the world.
all over the world. Yeah, Mexico is the cheapest flight and the best paying job. So then I got on a flight, zipped down there, lived there for 3 years. Found stand up, was like, I love this. Moved to Toronto, was broke, had nothing, but I was very happy the entire time I was in the shelter. I remember my dad coming to visit me when I was down there, and we spent some time together. And he went home, and my uncle told me after, when they talked, my dad cried, and he was like, he's going through the struggle, and I went through a struggle when I moved to Canada, and he has to do the same, and blah blah blah.
Oh wow, dude!
But in my head, I was ecstatic. For the first time ever in my life, I felt like I had purpose. I felt like
you were living alone and doing what you loved.
Yeah, like I moved to a city to chase a thing that I was extremely passionate about. I was having success at it. I was driven. I had never had purpose before. I never had a reason to get up in the morning and go do something. And now I did, and it felt incredible. Like I've said this on podcasts before and to tons of people, but when I started doing stand-up, I remember something my dad told me. I was a horrible student, and he was like, every day you come home from school, you put your backpack in the corner and you get C's. Imagine who you could be if you tried. And so when I started doing stand-up, I was like, I'm actually going to put effort into this. I've lived my entire life coasting, and I've never put effort into anything. And so then I did, and then the results just started coming. Like I was like, I know I can be mediocre with no effort. If I actually push myself, there's a chance I could be great at something.
Well said by him, for sure. Because
Yeah.
I worked at my dad's company, my dad's real estate company, for 6.5 years before I started to do stand-up full time. And yeah, man, I felt like I was coasting. I felt like I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing. I was good at it because I had been doing it for so many years. And in high school, I had a ton of tutors trying to help me out. I ended up playing college tennis at UConn, which is a Division I program, but it was a lower level program.
Yeah.
And I just had always felt like I never really gave anything my full all until I started doing stand-up.
Yeah.
So I definitely know what you're talking about, man. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Freaking nuts.
No, it's nice to have a purpose, to something to get up to. But that was like the whole how I moved from one to the next, and then after 6 months in Toronto, I was living in like a shitty comedian house. This house is actually legendary. It's a legendary.
It was like before the Content House, like Bryce Hall and shit.
Oh, dude, this is way before a Content House. This was a house. It was, what was it? 13 Whitaker. It's downtown Toronto. Like the location's nuts. This is like living in like, the East Village or the West Village or something like that, but $400 a month for rent.
But it was for 400 times 13.
What do you
like
mean?
everybody else was paying $400, or the whole rent of the whole place?
The whole, yeah. So there was 4 people living there. We each paid $400.
Okay, wow.
But it's like
crazy.
Right downtown Toronto. The place was a shithole. It was run down. And
like no heat?
No, there was heat and shit.
Okay.
And when I left, it was like real grimy. I remember there was a chicken figure next to the fridge that was there when I moved in, and it was there when I moved out. Yeah.
You were there for a few months though.
I was there for 6 months. Yeah.
Nobody ate it?
Well, it was like covered in spider webs, and I don't even think it was cooked. Like I think it had fallen out of the bag when someone went to cook chicken fingers, and it was just I had no idea how long it had been.
Any
there.
comics in there that we'd know? Maybe.
I don't. Dave Merhesh. Dave Merhesh.
Dave. Oh my God, we love Dave.
Yeah, Dave Merhesh. He wasn't there when I lived there.
That's
but he lived there
hilarious.
way before I did. It was probably much nicer when he lived there.
Wow. Okay.
But like 20 years of comics had lived there. Comics lived there after I moved out.
So what? The guy who owns the building was like a comic or what?
Nah, the guy who owned the building was this old Portuguese guy named Armando. And Armando owned a few different properties. He would never raise the rent. He didn't give a fuck. He just wanted his rent and to go home. That's it. He didn't care. So the comics were just reliable to pay rent. And I guess some comics had moved in and just grandfathered the room over and over and over again.
Right.
He had 2 different properties, maybe 3, but 2 for sure, that were filled with comics. Like the same thing, 4 comics in these townhouses. He would just show up. Then when I lived there, the guy who was like the elder comic was this guy, Dan. And he would come in and be like, Daniel. He would yell Daniel. Dan would come give him the rent. And then sometimes whoever paid the rent, I never got to do this, but they would take you back. He would take you back to the fucking, to his place and give you like wine that he makes. And it was like, people would say it would get you fucked. It was like this.
It's like prison wine.
Yeah, it was like wine that he was making in his basement.
Was he a slumlord or no? Like everybody loved him.
Everyone loved him. He was fine. He didn't give a shit. If you ever late on rent, he would just be like, come on. And then you would pay him later. He never raised the rent, man. He never, every other place in that area, say if our entire thing for our building was like 1,200, everything else was probably like 25 to 3,000 for the, like maybe more. But then, so I moved out, then let's say like 2 years later, maybe more than that. It must have been like 3 or 4 years later. Armando died.
How old was he?
He was in his late 70s, so like maybe close to 80 or something. He was deaf. But yeah, Armando died. And then, so Armando's kids got these properties now. They got, of course, that's how it works. But immediately they were like, we're sitting on these properties that are like $1 million each. This is downtown Toronto
Probably
real
at
estate.
least.
Yeah. Like I think one, because it was a tear down, it sold for like 800,000, the one that I was in. But so what ended up happening is like, we're selling these. So then all these comics are going to be like getting kicked out, which is like a bummer, but hey, it's how life works in when you're in the renter's market in
real estate. Yeah.
But what was a beautiful thing about it was all these different generations of comics who had lived there for the past like 20 years. They're like, okay, well,
No
we're going to
way
have
they
like,
bought it?
no, they didn't buy it. That would have been cool.
Yeah, dude.
That would have been cool. No. No, there was a huge eviction party. So different gens of comics from like the past 20 years
like Blue Mountain State.
Yeah, they all show up at this house and we're like partying. I remember that night I got fucked. I went there with like a Mickey and I was like,
what's a Mickey?
A Mickey? Oh shit, what is a Mickey in America? It's like a little bottle of booze. Like it's
Okay, so it's one of those, maybe it's like half a
square ones.
liter.
Yeah, it's like less than a 2.6.
Less than a fifth?
I don't know. Fifth
is like... That's
Yeah.
the thing, bro. We don't have the same metric system, so we don't
No.
know what the shit we're talking about.
Yeah.
1.75
It looks
milliliters
like a
is
flask.
Okay.
It looks like a
Okay,
flask.
think
of like a flask or a little more. I went there with that and I'm like, this is enough for like me to have a few
like
drinks.
10 shots.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I can make a few drinks, maybe share a little bit and I'm good. I'm not going to get too fucked up tonight. I had my first shift at this bar that I had just got a job at the next day. Next morning. So I was like, okay.
Next morning?
Next morning. I was like, I'm not going to get too fucked up.
Yeah.
And so we're partying and we're having just such a good time. The fucking Coke's coming out. Everyone's getting fucked.
go.
And then me and this girl are talking, this comic I know, and she was like, do you want to get Dial a bottle? And I was like, fuck yeah. So we like order a bottle from like a bottle delivery service. The guy shows up in a van. I get fucking shit housed. I get like so fucked up. I remember I was seeing a girl at the time.
Not the girl that wanted to drink with you?
No. This is a different girl. No, she was just a buddy.
Okay.
But this other girl who I was seeing, she no one knew we were seeing each other because we were both comics and we were trying to keep it on the DL.
As you gotta.
And I remember she was like, she brought her friend and she was kind of getting like really fucked up. And I was like trying to help her, but also trying to be on the sly. Like, oh, are you okay? Like, can I give you bleep out her name too?
Okay, I'll leave it out. I got you.
I was like, and her friend was like, she was like doing the whole like super feminist thing. She's fine. She doesn't need help. She doesn't need a guy, like all this stuff. And I don't think her friend knows we're dating either. So I'm trying to be like, I'm here to help. Like, can you like, I'm not
Right,
just
but
some
she
fucking,
thinks you're being the creepy guy.
yeah. And and I'm like, and she's like, oh, and she's like kind of drunk and shit right now. And eventually this girl's like, it's whatever. I was like, hey, you take care of her then. And I just fucking took off. I was like,
literally, bro.
I was like, I'm having the night of my life. And I did. I had a fucking great night that night. And I showed up at that shift the next day, but it was super late. I woke up with my coat and boots still on.
Lights on, shoes on.
Yeah, fucking on the ground. Like my boots were on the ground and I was laying back with my coat on. So like I had sitting down, laying back, and then just fucking was out.
Did you have any low points being homeless and then living in this shitty creator house? Like it sounds like once you found your passion, you kind of were like onward, upward, no matter how shitty it was.
Yeah, no, I've always been an extremely positive person. I've said this before, and I've never been depressed, and I'm very grateful for that.
You work out a lot?
I try to stay fit. Yeah,
Do you think that has any correlation to it?
Yeah, I think I've been very health focused for a long time. In Mexico was actually when there's this guy, the guy who actually told me to sell my dive gear and move to Mexico. He was like, he didn't say
move to Mexico. You mean
move to Toronto. Yeah. But the guy who told me, he said, if I was, this guy was like almost like a mentor to me. His name was Dave. And me and Dave both worked at the call center together. I have been trying to get a hold of him for years, and he's like very like incognito. He
isn't Facebook though?
No,
Dave,
Facebook.
hit up your boy Che. Come on, dude. He's got to get to a show.
He had an email, and I emailed him once. I was like, yo, Dave, thank you for all your help. And he's like, oh, I'm surprised you remember the email, because he just told me it, and then I remembered it.
Like Dave at Gmail.
And then I tried to message him again, and then he never responded. He was very like, he was a little conspiracy theory and stuff. Okay. So like he was like trying to never be tracked and that kind of stuff.
Damn. But if you went back to Playa del Carmen, you think you could find him?
No, I don't think so. I think he's gone now.
How old is he?
He was in his 40s, I think, in his 40s or
no maybe. Family, no wife.
He was divorced from a lady, but he used to be like a big timeshare sales guy or something like that. But he was very into health and fitness, and like introduced me to like David Wolf and these different like vegan health people, nutritionist
I'm vegan,
people.
By the way.
Oh, you're vegan?
100%, yeah.
I'm not vegan, but I tried it for a bit, but it wasn't for me. But just the idea of like micronutrients, spirulina, this kind of stuff. I heard about all these things that are very commonplace in nutrition from the first time from Dave, like I want to say like 6-7 years ago. Maybe not that. Wait, no, I was in Mexico, so it would have been like 10 years ago. So he like coconut oil, all that stuff, but he was like chase your dream. I remember telling him I would stay late at the call center and watch comedy on the computers there, just to be like, just drink it in.
New YouTube stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right when it all came out.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, you want to do this? Okay. He was like, oh, I'll watch some of it. And he came to the office the next day, and then we were hanging out, we're talking again. And he was like, oh yeah, you should absolutely go and do this. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll go and I'll give it like a few years. And if it doesn't work out, then it's like, whatever. And he was like, no, you either are or are not a comedian. These guys aren't like doing this part-time or it's their job. This is who they are. And he had watched this for like an afternoon and understood that. I didn't even know what he meant at the time. I understand that now. I understand like that your comedian it's like your friends, it's your life, it's the way you perceive the world, it's how you express yourself, jokes, and your form of creation, and how you communicate it's everything. It's all encompassing to who you are. It's a defining feature beyond an occupation. But yeah, he was a big mentor to me to help me see the vision of moving.
And it's so funny, he wasn't even in the industry. He was just some guy that
he's just some guy
like had some inspiring shit to say.
He was smart. He was a smart guy, and he saw how people operated and how people interacted and could understand people well. That's why he was a good salesman. But yeah, no, that was that. I can't even remember how we got on this point.
Yeah, me neither. Where were you March 2020?
March 2020.
Yeah, like when shit shut down.
Oh, the fucking, yeah.
The fucking. Yeah. Like 3 years ago, dude.
Yeah. And dude, let me just say, you guys had it a lot better than we did on Ontario. Ontario had the longest lockdown in Canada, and Canada had like a 2.5 times longer lockdown than all of America.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was in Toronto. The lockdown happened. I remember I was
living in that house.
No. I had moved 2 or 3 times by this point. I was living in a house with 2 other people, and that hit, and I was like, fuck, well, what are we gonna do? Like,
anything lined up at that particular time?
Like shows? Oh yeah, I had a bunch of shows booked, like just shows around Toronto, nothing too intense. And you got to understand, at this point, I had been working for a YouTube channel for about a year and a half.
Canadian YouTube
channel. I mean, was it that long I'd been working for them? Maybe a year at this point. It was called Most Amazing Top 10. They did top 10 lists. I was a scripter and host for them. And through that, because they had a large following, I had accumulated about 50K on Instagram. That was my entire following at that point. And I had never made a TikTok. I think I had posted some tour stuff on TikTok, but never tried to create anything around that realm. And then it was like, that all that stuff hit. I assumed this was going to be short. I was like, at first, I'm a grinding stand-up comic first. A lot of guys think I'm like a TikTok guy who started stand-up. I've been doing stand for 10 years and like grinding for 10 years.
You know, I think that's a common perception now because a lot of people who have a huge following on TikTok, that usually comes first.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Just because people would have started it 3 years ago, they get, millions of followers, or maybe not as many as you, but they'll get 1 million followers, and then they're at different shows in New York, and you're like, oh, well, their stand-up's not as great as their TikTok page.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So I have to kind of debunk that everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Because obviously you understand the pride comics have and the disgust we have.
When did Che start comedy?
Yeah. No, exactly. So I was like,
you got the JFLs from 2017, bro.
Exactly. I always say, I make that very clear. I did Just Flash in 2017. So I did in 2017. I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, kid's legit.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, this isn't going to be too long. And I really enjoyed the first 3 months of it, being forced not to do stand up, being forced to take a break. Yeah. It was actually really fucking nice. I worked through the whole pandemic because this YouTube channel, we moved to work from home. So we're working, scripting and doing everything from home.
Wow.
And so I was still working.
How are you getting paid by them, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, they just
on a weekly basis?
I think bi-weekly. Yeah. It was just like a regular, salary, 9 to 5. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was really enjoying it. And then when it went through the summer and they were outside doing stand up again, then it went back into the winter. I was like, and things were shut down in Ontario. You couldn't sit in a restaurant. You couldn't, there was when the patio season was going, it was good. But then after you couldn't sit on a patio anymore, you could not sit down in a restaurant. Takeout was your only option. Yeah. You couldn't be in a house with more than 4 people or some shit. It was super fucking strict there. So I was like, this fucking sucks. And some of the surrounding cities around Toronto were a little bit more lenient. So we managed to book a weekend at a comedy club in Kingston, which is 3 hours outside of Toronto. We do the shows there, and one of my buddies was filming TikToks, and he wasn't getting anything crazy. He was getting 3,000 views or something. But I was seeing the 3,000 views. I'm like, we just did a show at this club. There was 150 people there. I would have to do 20 shows here with different audience members every night for 3,000 people to see me. So I was like, okay, well, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I also saw the effort it took to make a TikTok, which is the beauty of TikTok. And I think meme culture also helped create this. Was there memes for a while were very Photoshop perfect, and then there was this trend in memes where they were shitty, where they looked like they were just thrown together and the comedy was still there. That was part of the comedy. And then I think people started to break away from the idea of this, everything needs polish, and it's about what the content is, if the core of it is entertaining. And I think TikTok embodied that in the biggest way, where you had people shooting from weird angles on their phone with bad lighting, but what they were saying or the situation they were in or what was going on, if it was low quality or not, it was grasping. And that made me realize, oh, I can do this right on my phone. I don't need to learn how to make a YouTube channel and edit on all this shit. I can just do this. So I wasn't doing stand-up. Well, we'd had this weekend. We went back to the city. You're not doing stand-up again. I was working with a couple people in this YouTube channel. Some of them were younger. Some of them knew TikTok a little bit. I asked them a bunch of questions about what are the genres? What can I do? I just kind of want to talk shit. And they're like, okay, stitches, mirror rants, duets. This is your realm. This is where you'll do the best. And
was this right around, this is March 2020 when you were right around getting into TikTok?
No, by this point we have gone through the summer. We're back into the winter. November was when we had the dates at the club. So this is probably going into December. I'm starting to study.
Almost 2021.
Yes.
Okay.
And I started studying as much as I would be like, hey, I'm going to spend an hour a day making content. I want to be able to make 6 videos in an hour. And that was based on what I had studied. And I was like, also, I'm going to spend an hour a day studying like YouTube videos of people being like, this is the algorithm. This is how many times you should post. Posting times. This is how you get better at this. Da, 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 da.
On Mr. B shit.
Yes. So I would study the shit out of TikTok. And the biggest thing that I saw all these different gurus saying was that you need a call to action. You see call to actions on YouTube all the time. You see call to actions like like and subscribe. Please smash that like button if you like what you're seeing, blah, 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 all that shit. And everyone was like, the biggest mistake people make on TikTok is no one does a call to action. And so then I was like, all right, well, I got to work on a call to action. I think the first thing I said was follow me for stupid content no one gives a shit about. And that was like on one of my first videos that blew up, and I kept kind of playing around with it. Then I took it away for a bit, and then I brought it back. And then that's how I worked into follow me, you fucking idiots. Follow me, you fucking idiots was just me trying to come up with a clever call to action that was direct, easy, quick. And it turned into like this whole catchphrase and everything that like people know me for. People come up to me, oh, you're the follow me, you fucking idiots guy, which I think is like and also a friend of mine was reading the book Icons. Have you ever heard of that book?
No. What is it, like a Charles Icahn book?
It's a book about a bunch of famous people from history and what makes them icons. And he told me a brief thing about it. He's like, oh, they all have something that like a lot of them have a defining line that you know them for. Like Martin Luther King, I have a dream. I have a dream speech is very long, but he says I have a dream like 30 times in the speech. You have like Snoop Dogg for shizzle. You have like all these different people who have something that they were known for before their name.
Interesting.
And so that stuck in my head was like, get a catchphrase.
Like a tagline.
So if I can have a tagline, there's also a call to action. I can mix those two things together. I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Was there one post that hit and you were like, all right, this is the move. I gotta really focus fully on TikTok?
Yeah. After I had been grinding it for a bit, there was the first one that really blew up was this video where it's like one white chick and she's in a bathroom and there's like 12 black dudes.
We pop it up right here.
Yeah.
You're going to find out very quickly the pecking order of that friend group, who the top dog is for sure. Also, you're going to find out who can perform under pressure. You're there, all your boys' dicks are out, everyone's trying to get hard at the same time. There's not enough holes to go around. Do you have what it takes to pull off the job? And guys, make sure you follow me for more dumb bullshit commentary that no one gives a fuck about.
I had seen several people react to this video, and all the reactions were like, she's going to get a train. Da, da, da. Every reaction was that.
A clean man thought.
Yeah. So I was like, well, okay, I want to react to this. I think it's funny, but I want a more I didn't think I want a more unique perspective. I was just like, I had a more unique perspective. When I watched the video of this, I didn't think about her getting a train run on her. That's not what I thought about. I was like, oh, you're like, if you're in this situation, you're going to find out who the top dog in your friend group is. Like you're going to like, are you going last or are you going first? You're going to figure out where you stand.
It's like the open mic.
Yes. And you're also going to find out if you have what it takes to perform under pressure. Do you have what it takes to get the job done? I didn't say that word for word, but it was that video that did like 3 million views or something. And people I knew were sending it to or people I knew were telling me that my friend sent this to me. And I was like, okay, now just like keep hammering it because I had done it was like several pieces coming together. I had done stand up for this point at like 7 years. And then I took an improv acting class once to help me audition better for commercials because I was booking a fair amount of commercials and that was really supplementing my income. So I wanted to get better at that. And the improv acting class taught me how to, it was by Kate Ashby, by the way, if anyone is in Toronto and wants a sick improv acting class. She does all word of mouth and she's sold out all the time. She's incredible. That taught me not to be embarrassed when you're in these auditions because I would always feel embarrassed because you feel stupid. They're like, oh, pretend you're opening a box. And you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. But it also taught me to trust my first thought. which helps you a ton with like crowd work, with improv, all that kind of stuff. So then when I was working for the YouTube channel, there were several different channels that this guy owned, with some of which were reaction channels. They put me on the reaction channel and I was killing it because I'm like, I have huge comedy chops compared to a lot of these other hosts. I've been training for this. So then all of those, the pieces of doing stand-up, trusting your first thought, all coming together. Now I'm reacting to clips. I was doing so well that they gave me my own reaction channel. So I was doing this all the time. Then I got this skills, like I'm going to co-op this, bring this over to my TikTok. And that's how like I was able to just start watching videos, have an idea of what I should think about it, trust that first thought, run with it, and just keep that going over and over and over and over again and start cranking out content.
It sounds like you kind of mesh everything together from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of comics have had difficulty doing, or they just didn't do it initially. You know, like when YouTube first came out, you were on it. TikTok, you were on it. It seems like comics will do stand up for 10 years and then be like, oh shit, I got to get into this TikTok game.
Well, you have to, I think the deeper and deeper you get, the more discouraging it is to start these things. Cause like I have a Twitch channel that does.
Oh yeah, bro. Sorry. Yeah.
What's up?
I know you're totally right.
Yeah.
It's like when you're 50 years old, you can't use the apps on your phone. You have no idea how to use them.
But you just have to. You just have to. You have to understand that you just have to eat it. Like like my Twitch channel doesn't perform very well, but we're growing a little bit. And I'm learning more from working with it. And like my YouTube channel isn't hitting. My like TikTok, my Facebook, my Instagram, blowing up. I'm like very grateful for all of those. But then all these other little pieces that aren't coming together, it's like, if you want them to work, you have to learn them. You have to hammer them. You have to work at them. Like I was like, I have another guy who I stream with. We're both comics. He's from Toronto. And like this year going in, I was like, I really want this Twitch channel and our gaming shit to fucking take off this year. And so I'm putting the work in. So I've booked out guests we're doing a guest every week. I want to do a guest every week all year. And so we're booking out that way in advance. Maybe we do an extra week or an extra night of streaming. We also got a YouTube guy to come in and start managing the YouTube, editing the videos. He has like a taste for what that stuff can be. He's doing the thumbnails, the titling, all that stuff to get better hooks going. And the views are going up bit by bit. You have to, but still like in comparison to all my other platforms, if you were to see that, some people would be like embarrassed by that, but you have to fucking eat it and just do it if you want these things to grow.
Let's talk about the Raw Dog tour. When was this your first time touring, like a big tour like this?
So this is pretty similar to when I came to America and we did the American tour. This is more shows, way more shows.
How many shows? I saw the flyer. Dude, great fucking promo, by the way. I saw that clip where you're just like, I'm going to go to every town that a MILF wants to bang.
Which was promo I had thought about prior. And then we started booking these shows and I was like, a lot of this stuff lines up. And cause I was like, cause I would post sometimes my DMs and they would always do well in terms of content. I was like, this is great content. And I always have fucking insane DMs from these chicks. So I was like, we got to kind of try and turn this into something. And then the two things linked up really well. It was great promo to get like all the things rolling for the tour. But the American tour, I think, was like just as many dates, but it was like one show in each place. That was like a proof of concept for me moving to America. Like we booked that tour. So I had proof of work so I could get my visa, so I could come to the States, do all these shows. Then we leveraged the sellouts of that American tour into me having meetings with like 3 large talent agencies like UTA, WME, and then it was like PPC or PCC or something like that. And then they were like fighting over me to try and sign me, which was all my manager's work. She's a fucking genius. And now with the Raw Dog tour, it was like, okay, I've got to find something. Because when you're doing your promo, it's like having a narrative really helps people get behind it and inspired by it.
How do you mean?
Having a narrative?
Yeah.
So like the narrative of this is like each city I'm going to, I'm banging some girl who sent me a message. Right. So there's a theme, there's something about it. You watch Andrew Schulz is great at creating a narrative, man. Like he had a show at Massey Hall. Massey Hall is like not ancient. Ancient is the right word. An epic, amazing, like storied venue in Toronto. Like Massey Hall's a gorgeous, gorgeous, legendary spot. Like fucking, I think I want to say the Beatles played there or something, but it just a lot of legendary acts have played there. He was supposed to play there, and they're like, we won't book you because of your act. And he was like, well, that's fucking stupid. So he booked Meridian Hall, which was a bigger venue. He's like, and he made all these videos about how he's like, they wouldn't book us because of the content. They're trying to censor. We booked this new venue, but it's bigger. So we were a little worried about selling it out. And he fucking sold tickets
so that's
mad.
A call to action to buy tickets to a show at a different place.
It also,
because of the message.
It creates a narrative. It's like us versus them. Us versus these people that are trying to censor us, which it's all true. But that's like when you get people emotionally inspired behind something, then it helps move things even more. So I wanted to try and be a little bit more creative with my marketing other than just like I'm going on the road.
And then do you also feel like Instagram would allow that to get to more people because they feel like it's not an ad? Because sometimes I feel like when we're doing the Ted Jones Comedy Show, the platforms will know that it's an ad, and then they'll be like, all right, we're not sending this to many as people.
If it's the platforms know it's an ad or if people know it's an ad and they stop watching. When I'm watching, like I've been watching stand-up clips and I'm kind of caught up. I'm like, oh, this is decent. And then I see at the top sponsored and I go, ugh, and I just scroll. I don't know why I don't want to see an ad, but I'm just against that. So I think, I don't know what it is. I don't know if the platforms are actively against people promoting themselves or if people are resistant to watching promo. It could be either or, it could be both. But I think that having the narrative helps sell things a lot more, and it helps give you a theme in how you're promoting your shows in the future. Like now I'm doing these posts where I'm posting like a message I got from someone that's like, I'll suck your dick till you go blind or whatever. And then you swipe over and it's the poster and it's being like, Raw Dog Tour, these dates, come to this place. And it's been doing great, everything except for Miami. We're selling tickets like crazy. And a big part of this is I'm really trying to inspire people to come to these live shows, and I'm selling more tickets than I ever imagined I would ever sell in my life. But it's because stand-up is what I do the best. People come to the live shows and they're like, wow, some people are like, I've had people waiting in line, and because I sell merch before the show, because I like to meet everyone, shake everyone's hands. I want everyone to have an opportunity, if they want it, to like talk to me for a minute, take a picture.
Before the show?
Before the show.
Why is that?
I think, for one, you're going to sell more merch because no one's spent any money yet. So they haven't bought drinks and food and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to hawk a lot more stuff. But also I like at the end of the show, there's a big lineup. People are tired. They want to go, like they're flipping the room, all this stuff. People don't get the opportunity to hang. I want the opportunity for everyone to get the chance to meet me, say what, oh dude, I seen this video, I love that thing. Oh dude, you did this for me. Some people are like, man, I was in a real dark place and your content really helped me. Whatever it is that they want to have that interaction for, I want them to have that. I want the whole thing to be an experience. And I think meeting the people before the show makes the show way better. Every show I do it, that it's like, sometimes there's this tension in the room where people are like waiting to see me. Each act, there's like the tension is there. Then they see me and they're like, oh my God. I don't want that. I want them to be like, if you walk into a venue and the guy you went to see is there and he shakes your hand and says, what's up? Thank you for coming.
You're
right
be
away.
Laughing the whole show.
You're walking in the room like ecstatic.
Definitely.
Like,
dude. It's a good thought.
You know, when sometimes you do a show and there's a weird energy in there and you don't know why, there can be so many different things but think about if the person who was taking your tickets was like cold or rude, and that was the first interaction you had, and then maybe your server was as well, or whatever it is. I'm not saying comedy clubs are doing this, but if that does happen, this person had a bad day.
You don't have the first impression.
I don't have the first impression, and then everyone in the room is going to have a little bit of tension. They're not as comfortable to talk or be loose or whatever it is. If I'm there to make sure that you're having a fucking good time right off the bat, we're having a good time that night. We're having a good time no matter the fuck what happens.
When I see other comics, they'll have their own comedy show, but they won't host it.
Yeah.
I'm always kind of confused by that.
Yeah,
when we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show, I'm the first face you see. I'm freaking ecstatic. If you're not having a good time at this particular moment, don't worry. I'll warm you up. I'll get you there. Feel free to heckle me, whatever. So I think you're right. The first impression of like whose show it is.
Yes.
That's you want to run the vibe that way.
100%, dude. 100%.
And that sounds so weird too. Just hearing it off like first, as soon as it hit my ears, you were like, I meet the people before the show. You're like, what? Well, wouldn't that throw you off? But no, the vibe just gets better.
Yeah, dude. I think there's this impression that you want, this tension. He's a big star. But I don't want to feel like that. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm this big, he's a big TikTok star. He sold out the room, blah, blah, blah. I want you to feel like I'm your buddy. I want you to feel like we're all hanging out, because that's the vibe I have on stage. That's the vibe the jokes come across, is that like we're hanging out, we're fucking around, we're saying funny shit. It's a good time. That's the whole show. And that's really important to me to portray that. But all this coming together. I want people to come out to these live shows because they're the best thing I'm doing. By far the best thing I do. I've been grinding stand-up for 10 years, and I'm going to be grinding stand-up for another, 20, 30, 40 years, however fucking long I want to do this for. It's the thing I love the most. It's the thing I put the most work into. And when you come to the show, like, it fucking smashes, dude. I haven't had a bad show.
Do you see like comedy becoming more interesting to people, or your act is crushing more, or it's like a little bit a balance of both?
I think the like comedy, what's it called? Netflix has changed the entire landscape of comedy.
How do you mean?
Well, it's just more mainstream now. It's like super, like comedy was very niche before. Like there was a few standout stars.
It was just the Comedy Central stuff.
It was just the Comedy Central stuff. You had people like Eddie Murphy and stuff who made it big, but people wouldn't go out just to go see comedy as frequently. It was way more niche. And that's why you have things like cancel culture, censorship, and these different things coming into comedy, is because now it's reverberated into a piece of society that would never even hear your shit before, because it's the same thing that happened with superheroes and video games. Like video games, you had Gamergate. Superheroes, there was like a whole like a feminist.
What was Gamergate?
You don't know Gamergate?
No, tell us.
So Gamergate was this big thing where when the fuck was this? This is like 2015 or 14 or something, where basically there was a lot of outrage about how women were represented in games, how women were treated in the games
like
industry.
GTA, I'm sure that was like the number
well, just
one
like
talking
every
point.
chick, if you're playing like a fighting game, every chick has like fat tits and a fat ass, and like every
Fortnite too,
Yeah.
like the skirts. Yeah,
every chick is like super sexualized.
Yeah.
But mind you, it's because the industry was all like dorky dudes. Like there was a comic who had a really good joke about it, about how you had all these outcasts from society that were like the nerds. And so they started drawing comic books and making video games. And everyone's like, you're nerds. You don't get to, like, no girl will fuck them. And they're just like doing their nerd shit. And then their nerd shit gets so popular that everyone's looking at it now. And the women go like, you need to desexualize all this stuff. And the nerds are like, but we have nothing. Yeah. That's Garrett Jameson. Garrett Jameson has that joke. I love that joke. But Gamergate. So like that is what happens when because gaming subculture, superhero subculture, comedy subculture. These are when the subculture grows to the point where it's going to reverberate into the mainstream. The mainstream's now watching, and now they're going to be commenting on it, and now they're going to want to have their fingers in it. That's what happens anytime a culture it reaches out to become pop culture.
Was there a special that you think turned it over that way? A Netflix special? Now, obviously, Hulu, Amazon, everybody's putting out specials.
Yeah, I don't know if there
Max.
was. I wouldn't say there was one particular special. I think it was the entire platform. Like I think it was people like Louis, Burr, Chappelle, like fucking who else? Like Chris
Scalco, maybe.
Mascalco, Chris Rock's a big part of that as well. Hannibal Buress, obviously Hannibal turned and he's doing music now. But these people changed what comedy is, and with the largest streaming platform having stand up as one of their main forms of entertainment, it changed how people perceive comedy, how they consume it, how their opinions on it, and now people who don't even watch comedy are having opinions on it.
Would you want to put an hour special on a platform, or would you want to take it to your brand and put it on a YouTube? I think that's stuff that comics are kind of iffy about these days.
So
on what to do.
My YouTube is just very small and not high engagement. If I could get my YouTube to like somewhere like maybe 150K to 250K, if I could get in that range, I would put a YouTube special out.
Do you think that should be the baseline for all comics to think about it like that?
I don't know. It depends on I feel based on my following, I think I could sell to a streamer. Like if I go to a streamer and I'm like, hey, I have 8 million followers across my platforms. I have an hour ready to sell. I've been doing stand up for 10 years. I think they would be interested. They at least would watch it, I think.
But what do you think we're going to see more so over the next few years?
I think it's going to be both. Like, I think there's always this like almost Judgment Day mentality to like waves of things where it's like rap came in and rap slowly, but surely then became the most popular form of music. That didn't mean people aren't going to go see live rock and roll all the time. Motley Crue was just like the biggest selling touring band of like 2022. Like these things will exist in duality. Some comics will have great success putting out YouTube specials, but a lot of the people did have created great platforms and had a great YouTube following in order to manifest that. But I think they will both exist right now. I still think putting out the Netflix special is the biggest thing that you can do, but it's also, there's a higher barrier to entry.
Have you ever done comedy in the metaverse? Yeah.
No.
Do you see yourself performing on one stage in LA and then, having 10 sold out shows all over the world just from you performing in that studio? Is that something that we'll see?
That would be great.
Insane.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Like the thing about the metaverse right now, because I'm obviously big into gaming and everything, it's not where it needs to be. It's like early internet. I don't know if it'll get there. I'm more confident in AR versus VR. AR is like augmented reality versus virtual reality.
What's the difference there?
So AR is like, say, if you put an ARC of glasses, you can still see through, so you can see this world. But say we're playing like fucking Minecraft. We can have like a Minecraft world pop up around us and move the bricks around with our hands. But we can still see each other and see everything around us. But it can generate stuff. You remember with, what's it called? Pokemon Go, how you could play Pokemon Go and you could look through your phone and then see like a Pikachu.
Yes.
That is AR.
Augmented reality.
Where VR is like you're completely consumed. VR is still a big barrier to entry. It's expensive. It's
you need like the Oculus, right?
You need the Oculus. It's also it feels weird and vulnerable to be stuck in that world. But
saw like some YouTubers spend 50 hours and it was like Ryan Trahan or something. I spend 50 hours in VR and he had like a whole set. He was like walking all over the place. Couldn't figure it out.
I just don't think it's there yet. We'll see. Technology advances so quickly. Like I would love the idea that we can reach more people with our comedy, where if I could do a show like in this living room and we can have people watching in like Bangladesh, that would be incredible. But I don't know if it'll be there. And I always think live will be better, not just in a truth way where sometimes you go, oh, this is better. Like the book is better than the movie, but people still don't go read the book. I think people will always go out to live shows. I think live is just like people they want to get out of their house. They want to go do stuff.
Visual things
yeah.
too.
And it's like they want to do something. They want to say they did something. They want to be like, I don't know, they just want experiences. People, and they want to spend money. People love spending money.
So over the next year, where do you see yourself progressing? Do you see yourself focusing on YouTube, your tour? What do you see yourself focusing on?
The focus is always stand up first. That's what I've told every one of my reps before I've signed with them, when I've worked with them. I've always been like, everything I do feeds back into the stand up. I open to taking like auditions and all this stuff. I audition for little things here and there. But everything will be like, how do we get more butts in seats? That's what the whole focus is. I just hired a new editing team so I can focus on getting more stand-up clips out. I'm going to be bringing on a YouTube manager to manage my stand-up YouTube and get that. I don't even know if I'm going to be posting my TikToks there anymore because they're not even performing well. I might just change it to a purely all stand-up platform and just only be posting stand-up on my YouTube. But yeah, posting more stand-up, getting that out to there more, also like focusing on the Twitch, growing that. Those are like the two sort of things I'm moving simultaneously. A podcast is in discussion right now with a platform and another creator. So we'll see if that goes through. But those are kind of the things on the horizon for 2023. And it's just like, keep this moving. Like my first weekend sold really poorly because it was Thanksgiving weekend. And I was like, oh man, I don't think I'm ready to do weekends.
Where was that?
It was in Jacksonville. And I was like, man, I guess I'm not a weekend comic. I'm like a one night guy, and that's okay. We'll get there. And then since then, we've had like 2 sold out weekends.
What's been your best moment in comedy thus far?
Oh, best moment in comedy.
Yeah, I sprung that one up on you. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that, but we want to know.
I think it's like moving to New York. Moving to New York was bittersweet because I had this big, like, grandiose idea of what the city was supposed to be like, and you get here and it's kind of dirty and dangerous.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it was fresh.
Oh,
well,
no.
It is. You like it, I'm sure.
Oh, I love it now.
Yes.
But it's like you move here, I'm not getting as many spots.
Oh, yes.
I'm like not bottom of the barrel, but I'm clawing my way up again. And it's like some of that is a little discouraging. And yeah, like your place is super expensive and the city's not as like front facing as incredible as it's sold to be. Once you're here for a bit and you learn where to go in the nooks and crannies and stuff, how to navigate, it becomes what people say it is.
So you're here full time now? You're never leaving New York?
Oh yeah. Realistically, I'm going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years. If you want to be a great comedian, then you have to commit to New York City. But yeah, I guess moving here and then going on the road for the first time and having like sold out shows and having people come out, like this is a stage of stand up that I never, like, I always thought I could be great at this, but I never perceived it clearly. Like I never thought about what a sold out show would feel like, or a sold out weekend, or how much money you would make. I never ever thought about those things. I still don't focus on money. That's a very important part of like how I try to be creative.
Like even when you were in the homeless shelter, there wasn't a moment where you were like, all right, maybe I should get a real job.
No. Yeah, no, I would like being morbid, but I would rather fucking like hang myself or something. Like the idea of like grinding a 9 to 5 constantly. I think
and it seemed like you loved to scuba probably at the time.
It was
when you were like grinding.
It was fun, but it's a very taxing job, and I felt no fulfillment from it. Where this made me feel fulfilled and gave me purpose, and I, like I said, I felt I could honestly be great at it. But yeah, I never thought about, oh, let's turn off and maybe have a backup plan or something. Because
you can't, as we circle back to the beginning of the episode, you can't have a backup plan.
You can't have a backup plan. And also all those things were so mind-numbingly boring to me. I've never been diagnosed with ADD, but a lot of those videos were like, I have ADD. I'm like, I think I have ADD.
I could tell. I could smell it on you. I got ADD too.
But they're like, boredom is pain. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. Being bored, it gives me so much anxiety. I can't, like, I just need to move and get out of this. I don't want to be like stale. And so, yeah, there never was in my mind an option of a backup plan. I was like, whatever, if I get like 30 grand a year, like touring and doing little shitty shows, and I can just like make it by, I'm like, whatever, that's fine.
Your parents never gave you a hard time, or like a girl you were with?
No, I've only dated like a couple girls seriously, and just like my reps, I tell them like, oh, stand up first.
I thought you were gonna say they were fighting over you.
Oh no,
that too, bro, that too. That's great, man. Putting that right out there for any woman to know, because honestly, I can't tell you how many times I've heard guys, or myself in general, I'll be like, all right, well, this can work. She's not really that supportive over this, but it could still work. There are other green flags in it, but I think you got to put your best foot forward and letting girls know that
100%.
Stand up is 100% number one.
Stand up is 100% number one, and there's no, it's a non-negotiable. I've definitely been with girls, and then I remember one girl saying, it seems like you're just going to go out and do a show every night, no matter how late it is. And then, like in my head, I'm like, oh, well, this is done now. This is
you have any favorite creators right now?
Favorite creators?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I actually do. There's this one guy, I should actually give him a shout out because he's a smaller creator. But
Give him a shout out. And also, free the top G. I don't know how you feel about Andrew Tate. But bro, poor guy. He looks terrible with that freaking hair.
Did you just see that he lost his appeal?
Yes, for like the 10th fucking time.
Yeah, no, he's fucking, I don't know what's going to happen with the top G, but it ain't fucking freedom, I'll tell you that.
And then I also love Aiden Ross. Just his interaction with him.
And
with the top G.
The funny. Aiden Ross stuff is wild.
He's on Kick now.
He's on Kick. What's Kick?
So it's Twitch's apparently like enemy, but it's like a YouTube and Rumble situation.
Oh, okay.
So he's been saying wild shit on Kick. Like a girl came on, like probably 16-year-old girl came on the stream the other day, and he's like, "What's up? 1 second, bitch. 1 second, bitch." And then he's like, "All right, later, whore." And then like extra out of the chat. Dude, like, Aiden, what's going on? But apparently he's getting paid 175 mil for 2 years.
Oh, Jesus.
Wild.
Dude, well, the thing about Aiden is like I think he sees feeding into this thing is so much money for him, and so much
Tate thing.
Yeah, because Aiden Ross, for me at least, I think for the general public,
like 22 years old, by the way. This kid, creator.
And I'm not a big Twitch guy. Like I'm on the platform, but I don't know the stars. He was a pretty unknown before Tate came on, because him and Tate were like streaming together.
Well, he was still pretty known, but I think that brought him to a new level.
That brought him to like, we all know his name now. We didn't know. No one knew Aiden Ross's name before him and Tate were streaming together. Like in terms of the main public. Mm-hmm. Where now he's like, he's a household name. Everyone's talking about Aiden Ross.
2 years, 175 million to stream is hilarious.
That's crazy.
Like, that's probably how much money LeBron's pulling. Like 85 million or something.
Honestly. Okay, I gotta give a shout out to this guy, fucking Fangito. I don't even know how you say that. It's
Fangito.
It's PHANGITO.
It's on TikTok.
So this guy does like frame for frame breakdowns of Dragon Ball Z episodes and like fight scenes and stuff. And he does such a good job because he'd be like, oh, this person, look how much they, because when you're watching Dragon Ball Z, it's so fast. You barely like catch the what's going on, but he has like brought so much more beauty to it than I haven't seen before, where he's like, look at how he dodges this way and punches him here. And like how he's going to counter, he's going to do this move. And I was like, yo, this is like, it made me have so much more respect for the people who create Dragon Ball Z and like how much detail there is in these little fight scenes. I watched episode 1 of Dragon Ball Z recently because I was like, I'm going to rewatch from episode 1 all the way through Dragon Ball
Holy
Z. I'm going to watch Dragon Ball Super. I'm going to watch Dragon Ball GT. And I finished episode 1 and I was like, what the fuck am I doing,
Yeah, dude? It's going to take years.
This is a journey.
Are you a big anime guy?
Not huge, but I'm a Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z.
Avatar? Last Airbender?
No.
Okay, I was going to say we had Aang, who's like the main character of Airbender on the pod.
Oh, really?
So that was pretty huge for a lot of people who were watching. Dude, like I had him on the first time, hadn't watched the show.
Yeah.
The amount of shit I was getting from, I don't even know, kids who are 8 years old, kids who are 38 years old. What the fuck? Zach hasn't been on an interview for 15 years and he comes on this guy's pod who hasn't even watched it. So I had him on like 50 episodes later and I watched every single episode.
You're like, I'm caught up now, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Sick, dude.
It was painful, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give one more. There's got to be another creator.
Yeah, for sure, man. But I think the younger generation is definitely taking over the TikToks. You see guys from like ages 20 to 25, I think are probably the most followed on there. Would you say, right?
Oh yeah,
like that more younger group is being followed on there.
I think it's definitely a younger person's app for sure.
Yeah.
But I think there's a pretty healthy balance of users versus creators. I think if you're in your late 40s and up, you've had a full career and everything, and then you're way less likely, you have like a family and you have shit going on, you're way less likely to take the time to become a TikToker. Like most people aren't going to take the time to become a TikToker. But if you like the people who are doing it at this level are like, well, this can like boost my career or my business or this will be my main thing.
Are you worried that they're going to delete it?
If they do, I'll find another avenue. I've always found
right.
something
Well
else.
said, but like, what? I don't understand. Like, what? China's in our phone regardless of that.
I don't know. It is
political bullshit.
There's always I feel like there's always smoke and mirrors that if we're gonna get real on something, there's always smoke. They'll always do something that will distract you from like the real issue, where it's like
Epstein's list. And
the
shit.
Epstein's list, all that stuff. If you even just want to go something way more blatant, like housing prices, the job market, food costs, like all these things are very like. There's still there's the chemical spill in Ohio. There's still places in Flint that don't have clean water. Like not everyone.
What?
Like these.
You don't even think there's so many things to freaking realize.
Like we're talking about baseline human needs aren't being met in a huge way.
And we're giving all this money to Ukraine, bro.
And it's like, okay, but they might ban TikTok. That's getting headlines. And then if you really try to start talking about like wage inequality and these kind of things, that's when they come kill you.
Che would never kill himself.
Yeah, no, it's Martin Luther King, when he got assassinated, he was going to go speak at a factory about the wage discrepancies between black and white workers. When he's talking about like voting rights and stuff, no one gives a shit. But once you start talking about money, that's when they come take you out. So that's like, I don't know. This could be, it's a hot topic for people to talk about, but there's real issues that are going on that don't even get touched.
Yeah, and no matter what, CNN has like the push notifications set on my phone. I don't even know if I could turn it off. So whatever they say when it pops up on my phone, I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is the topic I'm thinking about for today. It's kind of like when we were younger, I'm around the same age as you. Our parents would watch the news, we'd sit with them at 7 p.m. and that's what we were focused on for the rest of the week, what they were watching.
Yeah.
So now it's so different because there's so many different stories that people could possibly have not have heard of that. Do you find that TikTok is also educational on that level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of shit you can learn through the app. It's so bite-sized and so creative that I like the Dragon Ball Z thing. It's like watching his stuff made me appreciate Dragon Ball Z more. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go back and watch it. There's another creator who makes videos about this game called Dead by Daylight. I started playing that game. So I think it gives you such a nice little taste that if you are curious, you can dig a little deeper into these things. And then maybe that turns into you becoming a creator on the subject or just interested in it or whatever. But I think it is... I think it's great. I think it's a great algorithm. I think the way it works is very interesting.
Do you have a favorite comic?
Favorite comic? That's a hard question.
Yeah, dude, there are a lot of motherfuckers. Stay in it.
I've always...
Or maybe someone you've worked with. If that's easier.
My favorite... I've usually say this. You say Bill Burr. I think Burr what he was like, how everything he's done has been like stand-up focused first. Everything he's done outside of his stand-up, like when he was on Breaking Bad and Star Wars, his cartoon, they're all extensions of himself, and all that self.
He's not acting, kind of mean.
They're all the self we understand from his stand-up, and everything is fed back into the stand-up. It's like everything he does, it's like now more people are watching the stand-up, and it's like his stuff is incredible, man. For him to be like so late in his career, there's I'm Sorry You Feel That Way and Paper Tiger. Those two specials, like it wasn't his last one was Red Rocks. I got to rewatch Red Rocks actually. But Paper Tiger's second last special, arguably his best. To be that late to like make I'm Sorry You Feel That Way. I'm Sorry You Feel That Way is so fucking good. And then to do Paper Tiger 2 specials later and have that be like so fucking good. And that was like right after all the Chappelle dropped his special, then he dropped his. And to be like I never forgot it. It didn't just get run over by Chappelle. I'm like, this is fucking, it was incredible body of work. I really think what he did with his career was great. It was always focused on just making something amazing. And not getting distracted by like the money or the women or anything. He never turned off. He's been with the same lady forever. He's didn't be like, I'm going to become a big actor now. No, he's like writing stuff now and trying different things. And he stretches himself as much as he can, but he's still like, I'm not a huge listener of his podcast, but he's like, I went to Wimbledon. I went to do this. I love sports. I'm going to experience all these sports things. He's still living his life and checking shit out, and making some of the best stand-up that's ever been created in the process.
What would you say to yourself, 20 years old, being in Mexico, somebody who's looking to do the same thing, looking to make this way onto the Ted Jones World couch? What would you say? what would you say to that guy? What the shit do I do?
I just go do it. You'll figure the rest out. Like that's honestly, that's like a Sarah Silverman thing where she said that someone came up to him and was like, I'm thinking about doing stand-up, and she was like, you're never going to do it. Just do it. Stop thinking about doing it and doing it.
People would be like, I have so many jokes. Like,
and
look at all these jokes.
Go do it. That's I met a lot of people along this road to getting to where I'm at, and I'm like, and compared to a lot of my peers who I came up with in Toronto, and a lot of my peers even here in New York, people the same age as me, like I'm doing very well. I'm selling tickets. I'm going on the road. I have a large social following. I'm very grateful for all the things that I've acquired. And I definitely have seen other people who've done stuff similar or to the same extent or greater than I have. And the biggest defining factor is there are doers and then there are planners. And there are people who be like, oh, I'm studying this thing. I'm learning this thing. I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, before I start making TikToks, I'm going to like watch a bunch of these videos and get a bunch of this stuff. It's like, do them both at the same time. Learn and do.
Because I think people could potentially take your message, as you were saying before, like, oh, well, maybe I'll study the algorithm for a couple months, then I'll put my video out.
No, it's like I did them
do the same thing.
I did them
same time.
at the same time. I did them side by side. I spent an afternoon at the office asking people, and then that day I went and started making TikToks, and then I started watching videos about how to get better at the algorithm as I was making the TikToks. It was an hour a day doing one, an hour a day doing the other. It's just do it. The doing process, you learn from so much.
Learn by doing.
Oh, absolutely. There's that fucking, that book of 5 Rings?
Fuck no, dude. I have all these books. You haven't mentioned one.
Dude, oh yeah. I don't know about any of those books.
Just like the fucking Tony Robbins book.
No, the Book of 5 Rings, you should read it. It's a great book. Okay. It's this old samurai fighter. Musashi is his name? Miyamoto Musashi. He's the greatest sword fighter who ever lived. He won like 62 battles.
Wow, what year was that?
This is like the 1600s or something in Japan. Obviously all these fights are to the death.
Yeah, I was gonna think winning a sword battle.
Yeah, they're to the death.
Jesus.
And he would fight people who use like different types of weaponry. Like that one that's like a fucking hook on a chain and shit. He fought a guy who mastered that.
That's crazy.
He fucking killed all these people, and then he wrote a book about how half the book is like your defensive stance should be like this, but the other half is how he's like, I learned the skill of strategy through all these things, and now that I understand the skill of strategy, I can learn all of their skills. So through doing stand-up and through like grinding myself at that, when I take up all these other practices, like now I'm going to create content, now I'm going to create this, the process to learn stand-up and to do it, I can apply that process to other things. That is essentially the essence of the book.
Without fully thinking, just do it.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
And you just learn how to do it well. That's it. You'll know how to do it.
Che, this has been a great episode, man. I appreciate you for coming on the pod and not knowing much about me. But guys, as you're listening to this, Thursday night, we have the Ted Jones Comedy Show. Tonight, check the link in this YouTube video. And if you're in Miami and there are tickets left, so tomorrow's Friday night, and then we got Saturday night.
Yes.
Wait, you Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yes.
And we check what? The link in your bio?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, before we get out of here, Che, we're popping up your Instagram, so please let us know your Instagram and follow this guy.
Durena on Instagram, on TikTok. Oh, if you want to find me on Twitch, Little Dinky News on Twitch and YouTube.
Little Dinky Nudes?
News.
Okay. We love it. Che, dude, thanks so much again for coming on. And you'll see this guy at the 420 Ted Jones Comedy Show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.